Hey yo, it's your boy Kaliko. Today I have the first episode of a brand new series I'm bringing to you guys called Chasing Fire, and it's all about carving fire agate. Episode 1 is going to be about the tools you need, so make sure you get your pen and paper ready because I am going to have a lot of information flying at you here in the next 10 to 15 minutes, and we're going to try and cover all of the tools that you should need to start carving fire agate here real soon. So more of that right now. Today I have for you a beginner's guide to carving fire agate. This is the piece of fire agate we're going to be using. I dug this out of the ground myself at the Opal Hill Fire Agate Mine in California. I'll bring this piece back here in a few. What we're going to start off talking about though is tools that you need for carving fire agate, the bare minimum tools, so that you know what to purchase and what not to waste your money on. You're going to need a grinder of some type with a flex shaft on it. This is the flex shaft. This part right here makes it to where you can use an electric grinder with water and not get electrocuted. Now this, although very inexpensive, about $40 at a Harbor Freight, it is not the best tool for the job. It's not even a very good tool for the job. The reason it's not a very good tool for the job is you need something that has a foot pedal. A foot pedal and the control that the foot pedal gives you for carving fire agate is very, very important and helpful. The way that the other grinder just keeps spinning all the time is not near as helpful and causes for mistakes to happen and for scratches to be left in areas of the stone where you wouldn't normally want them to be. So a foot pedal and a grinder that is meant to use one like this Prodigy that I got from Rio Grande for about $100. This is the bare minimum to use if you can't afford to get a Dremel 4-drum. Important safety items to have for carving fire agate and other stones is a particle respirator and safety glasses. The glasses obviously to protect your eyes, the respirator to protect your lungs. The last thing you want to do is get silicosis, which is very similar to black lung. It is a horrible way to live or die. Another way to protect yourself from silicosis and the dust particles that are created from carving gemstones is to have either a water system or an air vacuum system that sucks up the particles as you're carving. If you're using a water system like me, you're going to want some sort of receptacle to catch the water so that you can dump it into a bucket and then put it in the yard somewhere. As the process of carving stones progresses, you're going to want to be able to put them on dop sticks. The best way to be able to dop your stones for warming them and keeping the wax at the proper temperature is a dop buddy. These things are very, very useful and well worth the $35 they cost to invest in. You will also need some dop sticks for dopping your stones. You can just buy some dowels and cut them down to your preferred size. My preferred size is about 2.5 inches. Maybe 3. More like 2.5 though. So now one of your most expensive and most important tools for carving gemstones and fire agate are your burrs. Now, I'm going to talk about 3 kinds of burrs today. I'm going to talk about your inexpensive metal bonded, electroplated with diamond steel coated burr. You can get these for about $1 to $12 anywhere on the internet. They're your most average burr you can find, although they tend to be difficult to find in different grits from 80 to 600 in variations. You tend to find them either like coarse or not so coarse. I have found some in 600, but it took me a long time and it was never really worth it. I do not advise buying these kinds of burrs. I don't even want to spend much time talking about them except to tell you that I do not believe in them for carving fire agate because they do not last long enough and you have the electroplating burned off really quickly, and after that you just need to find more burrs of the same type, and they're just not worth it. So let's just get that out of there. Don't buy those. The next burr I'm going to talk about is from Diamond Pacific. It costs $17.95, and overall it is a fair burr. It will cut fire agate and other hard stones. Yet hard stones like fire agate do wear these burrs away rather fast. The diamonds do their job. The bonding material for these sintered burrs from Diamond Pacific is not hard enough to last a long time against stuff like fire agate or really hard carving material. They do the job for the price, but the overall hardest and most lasting sintered burr I've found is from Varencore. Now, Varencore gets a bit more expensive, whereas with Diamond Pacific, all of their sintered burrs cost $17.95 regardless of the size or shape. With Varencore, the prices vary from $28 up to $60, I believe. The average price of the burrs I buy are $28 and $48. The Varencore burrs are my burr of choice. The bonding material that they use that has the diamonds impregnated in it lasts extremely long compared to any other sintered burrs I've found. They don't just do the job, they do the job professionally well, and they last a long time, especially for what some of them are, like this graduated point right here. Tapered point is what it's called. Now, Varencore burrs run from $28 for any of these three burrs to $48 for this 8mm grinding burr right here. Now, these shapes are my must-have shapes for carving fire agate. These are the 4 shapes I believe that you have to have if you can't afford to get, everything you would want when you're going through their catalog. Now, Varencore burrs are my burr of choice. They can be rather spendy, but they really do last a long time, and the finished product is really amazing. These 4 that you see right here are the 4 shapes I think every beginner needs for carving fire agate. This right here is the big shape. You need a minimum of an 80 grit in this and 1 or 2 burrs for getting rid of extra chalcedony, especially if you don't have a cabbing machine like I do. Having a set of these running from 80 graduating to 600, 120, 273 to 400, and 6 to 800 can help you for carving larger pieces, and those pre-polishing grits will last you a long time in this size of a burr. They'll definitely hang around for a while. At $48 a burr, a full set's going to cost you $300, and that's definitely not inexpensive, but the product is worth the money overall, I believe. Now, these next 3 shapes, I believe, are must-haves for carving a good fire agate. The bullet is the overall most useful shape I've found for carving fire agate. The Varencore bullet lasts so long. I've had this one. It's carved at least 15 to 20 stones. It is a fantastic burr. Although when you get into the higher grits, they tend to last a little bit longer. Your 600 is going to last you a tad bit longer, a good bit longer actually, than your 80 grit is, because your 80 grit is going to be used so much more to reduce stone, whereas your 600 will be used to just put that final shape and pre-polish on it before you're ready to go to polishes. So you're going to not use that to remove as much material as you will an 80 grit. So I recommend purchasing bullet style in the grits all the way from 120 up to 6 to 800. So that's 120, 220, 300 to 400, and 600 to 800. I recommend that for this burr. I also recommend that for an inverted cone, and I recommend that for a tapered point. Now, an inverted cone, it works really good for using the taper portion of the inverted cone in order to get the shape of some of the bubbles that you will have that show themselves in fire agate. That's one of my preferred burrs for doing that. It's definitely a really good burr for getting some of the angles and still having some of the flow of the way the fire agate naturally wants to flow without having some of the tool marks. Now, the last and one of the most important burrs that probably gets ignored by some people would be a tapered point. The tapered point is extremely important for being able to get some of the dead spot lines that you have in fire agate, that you need to just get a really small area, either a point, like a little dot that you can just wear away the brown or white agate to have the color exposed, or a line that you will have that you can just lay it on there and basically go back and forth and make a channel using the tapered point. Tapered point is really important. So these are my 4 preferred shapes for carving fire agate for the beginner. Now, as you carve more fire agate and as you spend more money, you'll definitely have more shapes of tools. But you also have to recognize that this is about $100 and some change per. So that's $300 for these, and then you have about another $200 if you get the full set of the big 8mm barrel burrs. So overall, this is a $500 set that you have in between my hands, being that 1 burr represents another 3. So 4 burrs per. Now that I've been carving fire agate for a little while, I have a pretty good take on some of the stuff we should be using and what we shouldn't be using, and some of the stuff that is just not worth using. And these right here in general, these are not worth using, so we'll just go ahead and get rid of these. Now, I've used both Varencore burrs and Diamond Pacific burrs to do a lot of carving on fire agate recently, and I definitely have my preference, which I have made clear time and time again by talking about Varencore. Now, if you need to save money and you need to carve with Diamond Pacific, that is completely cool and totally okay and doesn't bother me in the least. There's just a couple of things I want you to know and to take into consideration. The 600 to 800 on a Varencore is extremely good for pre-polish. It is my preferred method of getting to the pre-polish stage. Yet when I tried the same thing with a Diamond Pacific sintered burr, the pre-polish stage I got wasn't what I considered a true pre-polish stage. It had more gouges in it, and to me looked more like a 400 of a Varencore. Diamond Pacific, their sintered burrs across the board cost $17.95 regardless of the shape or the size. That's pretty cool. Varencore's burrs, they can cost a bit more money, ranging from $28 to what I purchase is $48 and even higher than that. The shape of the Diamond Pacific burrs is larger than the shape of the Varencore burrs, but that's not actually necessarily a plus. When you look at the shape of an inverted cone of a Varencore next to the shape of an inverted cone of a Diamond Pacific, the Diamond Pacific is not a very good cone shape, whereas the Varencore has a really great trumpet taper to it. And that taper really helps you for getting a great line underneath of the bubbles and the shaping that you're looking for. Whereas with the Diamond Pacific inverted cone, because of it not having that trumpet shape and it tending to be a little bit shorter in its inverted cone shape, I left myself with more scarring from the edge of the cone than I would from the Diamond Pacific or from the Varencore. I misspoke there. And I really didn't like that part about the inverted cone. So the inverted cone really wins hands down against between Varencore and Diamond Pacific. Now, I sort of had the same thing with the tapered point. The tapered point is larger from Diamond Pacific, but because of the hardness factor of the Varencore, the tapered point for the Varencore did the job that I wanted more, being very pointed and only getting rid of the areas of agate that I wanted to get rid of. Whereas with the Diamond Pacific, the point tended to wear away and get bigger rather fast. And I didn't even get through the agate before the point was not the same shape as what I started with. So those two specifically for Varencore versus Diamond Pacific, Varencore really, really wins. Now the longevity, that is the other thing. They both work, but if you're going to carve fire agate with Diamond Pacific purely, I definitely suggest that after you do your final 600 stage that you step backwards with the Nova points and start at a 280 instead of a 600. You'll get to your final polish a lot quicker. If you're going to be carving fire agate and you don't have a cabbing machine and you're just doing everything by hand by rotary tools, you're going to need a lot of cutting wheels, and you're also going to need some mandrels. Cutting wheels and mandrels are a big deal because you will use these for getting rid of excess, for cutting out a cab shape. There's a lot of excess that you end up cutting through, and you burn through these relatively quick. So they're relatively inexpensive. I say stock up on a bunch of them and a bunch of sizes if you can. Now, one of the other things that I would suggest you get, and these work really well, they're very much worth it, and probably my favorite item to ever come out of Diamond Pacific so far, are the Nova Resin Bond Diamond Carving Points. They are Nova points. You can get them in a 4-pack like I have right here. The 4-pack is a black 280, a brown 600, a gray 1200, and a rose 3000, and those 4 right there will help you finish shaping and bring your stone to a really nice luster polish, to where you can either use cerium oxide or something like I like to use, some DeShine Superfine Soft, to get a really nice mirror finish. Now, these Nova points, they work really well. You use them with water, a water drip as you're using them. You don't want to use them dry, and they are one of my favorites. Now, something else Nova has is these Nova discs. Now, these Nova discs I have are really small. This is a 3-layer, which I actually don't advise you getting for using fire agate. You want to get the 2-layer. The 3-layer is too much, but the 2-layer on the top and bottom is just the right thickness. The 3-layer is almost the thickness of wood, and you don't get the flex that you need, and they just don't work properly for me. But the 2-layer works really well, and that'll help you get into some of the nooks and crannies that the Nova points can't. Now, the discs are a bit expensive, I do think, next to what the Nova points actually cost, because the Nova points last so long, and the discs themselves do not last near as long as the Nova points. But for the job that they do, it's really difficult to beat them. The last things you're going to need is some mandrels and some felt wheels. Now, whether you're using cerium oxide or whether you're using DeShine like I am for my final polishes, felt wheels work really well for getting in the nooks and crannies of fire agate, for polishing the whole piece of fire agate. So get some mandrels and get some felt wheels. They're going to come in handy in your carving life, that's for sure. Now, my preferred method of final polish is actually a 2-step process, and my first step I use DeShine Superfine Soft. DeShine, as you can see right there. And DeShine products seem rather expensive, but their polishing pastes, which are water soluble, they last a really, really long time, and they are really good at getting a mirror finish. I think this is around a 50,000 finish. I'm not absolutely sure, because when I talked to Roland of DeShine, he couldn't tell me. So I really recommended this product, though. They've sent me a bunch of stuff to use of theirs, and I think their stuff is amazing. My final polish is 100,000 cerium oxide. And I use this in a water bath with a felt wheel or with a bristle wheel. Both felt wheels and bristle wheels work great. And this is the final polish that I use on my fire agates. I hope you enjoyed episode 1 of Chasing Fire, although it's pretty much just a laundry list of the items you might need in order to start carving fire agate for your first time. In some way, I hope it was enlightening and entertaining to you. If you'd like a chance to win the fire agate that I'm going to be carving in the next couple of episodes using the tools I talked about in this episode, you can buy a lottery ticket for $10 inside of my Etsy store, or you can purchase a box of rocks and receive an extra lottery ticket for that also inside of my Etsy store. I think right now I only have 6 fire agate rough boxes of rocks that I loaded live on this channel that you can see in one of my previous videos. But there's 6 of those, but I'm going to have a whole bunch of other stuff that's up for sale over November and December, when we're going to do the lottery just after the first of the year. And when we do the lottery just after the first of the year, there's going to be a few really cool items that people win. I haven't decided exactly what or how many yet, but there's definitely going to be a few. So I love you for watching, and I'll see you in the dirt soon. In part 2 of this, we'll start carving this fire agate, and it'll be awesome. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and all that support jazz. Love you for watching. I'll see you soon.